Why women lose respect before they lose attraction. Most men think attraction is the first thing they lose. They believe a woman wakes up one day, feels less attracted, and then slowly loses respect. But in many relationships, the opposite happens. Respect disappears first, and once respect begins to fade, attraction often follows. That's why so many men are caught completely off guard. She still texts. She still smiles. She still spends time with him. Everything seems normal, but underneath, something has already changed. Not because of one huge mistake, but because of small behaviors repeated over time. The truth is, women rarely lose respect overnight. It's usually a slow process. One disappointment, one broken promise, one moment of emotional weakness, one act of dishonesty, one compromise of self-respect. None of these moments seem important by themselves, but together, they quietly change how she sees you. Today, we're going to explore why women often lose respect before they lose attraction, the subtle mistakes many men never notice, and why protecting respect is one of the most important things a man can do in any relationship. Let's begin. Number 1. When a man stops respecting himself. One of the biggest misconceptions about respect is believing women are responsible for giving it. In reality, respect usually begins with how you treat yourself. Think about it. If you constantly ignore your own boundaries, always say yes when you mean no, accept treatment that bothers you, or abandon your values just to avoid losing someone, what message does that send? It tells people, I'm willing to sacrifice who I am just to be accepted. At first, that may look like kindness, but over time, it often looks like insecurity. Emotionally mature women notice this, not because they're looking for perfection, but because self-respect is difficult to fake. The way you value yourself teaches other people how to value you. Number 2. When his words stop matching his actions. Trust isn't built by promises. It's built by consistency. Anyone can say, you can count on me. The real question is, can they? Do they follow through? Do they keep their word? Do they show up when they said they would? Women pay close attention to this, because consistency creates emotional safety. When a man's actions constantly contradict his words, respect quietly begins to disappear. Not because he made one mistake, but because reliability slowly becomes uncertainty, and uncertainty weakens trust. Number 3. When he starts chasing approval. At the beginning of many relationships, a man is relaxed, confident, comfortable being himself. But after a while, fear begins creeping in. Fear of losing her. Fear of saying the wrong thing. Fear of disappointing her. Without realizing it, he starts changing. He stops expressing his real opinions. He constantly seeks reassurance. He apologizes for things that don't require an apology. His happiness becomes dependent on her approval. That's when something important changes. She no longer sees confidence. She sees dependence. And dependence often weakens respect. Not because caring is unattractive, but because losing yourself rarely is. Number 4. When he avoids difficult conversations. Many men believe avoiding conflict keeps relationships peaceful. Sometimes, it does the opposite. Small frustrations become silent resentment. Unspoken problems continue growing. Important conversations never happen. Respect begins disappearing, not because of conflict, but because of avoidance. Emotionally mature men understand something different. Honest conversations may feel uncomfortable, but avoiding them usually creates even bigger problems later. Respect grows where honesty exists, even when honesty is difficult. So far, we've seen how respect begins fading when a man loses self-respect, when his actions stop matching his words, when he starts chasing approval, and when he avoids difficult conversations. But the next signs are even more subtle, because they explain why women sometimes stay in a relationship long after respect has already started disappearing, why attraction often follows respect, and why many men don't realize what happened until it's already too late. Number 5. When he stops leading his own life. One of the quietest ways a man loses respect is when he slowly stops living for himself. It rarely happens all at once. At first, he has goals, a routine, a vision for his future. He exercises, learns new skills, spends time with friends, works towards something meaningful. But after entering a relationship, something changes. Without realizing it, he begins putting everything else on hold. His ambitions become optional. His hobbies disappear. His personal growth slows down. His entire emotional world begins revolving around one person. Many men believe this proves commitment. But commitment and losing yourself are not the same thing. A relationship should become part of your life, not replace it. Women are often attracted to a man because he has purpose, because he has direction, because he has a life that inspires admiration. When that purpose slowly disappears, respect often fades with it. Not because she wanted less love, but because she admired the man who had direction. And now, she no longer recognizes him. Number 6. When he becomes emotionally unpredictable. Imagine two different men. The first man experiences stress. He communicates calmly. He thinks before speaking. He doesn't pretend everything is perfect, but he doesn't allow every emotion to explode either. Now imagine the second man. One day he's affectionate. The next day he's distant. One small disagreement ruins the entire evening. Minor disappointments become major arguments. His emotions constantly control the atmosphere around him. Which man feels safer to build a future with? The answer is obvious. Women don't expect perfection. They expect emotional stability. That doesn't mean never feeling angry, or sad, or frustrated. It means learning to experience those emotions without letting them control everyone around you. Emotional consistency creates trust. Emotional unpredictability slowly erodes it. Respect grows when people know what kind of person they'll meet tomorrow. Number 7. When he stops growing. There is something naturally attractive about growth. People admire those who continue becoming better, not because they're obsessed with success, but because they're committed to progress. Emotionally strong men never believe they've arrived. They continue reading, learning, improving, reflecting. They become better listeners, better leaders, better partners, better fathers, better friends. Now imagine the opposite. Years pass, but nothing changes. The same excuses, the same habits, the same complaints, the same comfort zone. Growth stops, and eventually, so does admiration. Respect often disappears long before attraction does, because people are naturally inspired by those who continue moving forward. Purpose isn't only attractive, momentum is. Number 8. When he sacrifices his standards to keep her. This is where many men make their biggest mistake. They're afraid. Afraid she'll leave. Afraid she'll lose interest. Afraid of being alone. So they begin accepting things they once knew were unhealthy. Disrespect, broken promises, one-sided effort, repeated dishonesty. They tell themselves, I'm just trying to keep the relationship together. But every time they ignore their own standards, they quietly lose a little more of themselves. Healthy women don't respect a man because he accepts everything. They respect a man who knows where his boundaries are and calmly protects them. The strongest boundaries aren't loud. They don't come with threats or anger. They come with quiet certainty. This doesn't align with my values. I won't accept this. I wish you well, but I won't compromise my self-respect. That kind of confidence earns respect, not because it's controlling, but because it's grounded. The moment many men miss. Here's the part that catches so many men by surprise. Women rarely announce when respect begins to fade. There isn't always one dramatic conversation. No warning. No countdown. Instead, the energy slowly changes. She stops asking for your opinion. She becomes less excited to share her day. She laughs a little less. She admires you a little less. The conversations become more practical and less emotional. Many men think, she just isn't attracted to me anymore. But attraction often wasn't the first thing to disappear. Respect was, and attraction quietly followed. By now, a pattern should be becoming clear. Respect isn't destroyed by one mistake. It's shaped by repeated behavior, by how a man treats himself, how he handles pressure, how he communicates, how he leads his own life. and how consistently he lives according to his values. But the biggest lesson is still ahead, because the final truth explains why some men regain respect after losing it, while others never do. And it has very little to do with saying the perfect words. The biggest myth about respect, one of the biggest mistakes many men make, is believing respect can be talked back into existence. So when they feel a woman pulling away, they explain, they defend themselves, they promise to change, they ask for one more chance. Sometimes they buy gifts. Sometimes they send long messages. Sometimes they become even more available than before. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Respect is rarely rebuilt through words alone. It's rebuilt through consistent behavior. A woman may listen to everything you say, but she will believe what you repeatedly do. That's why temporary effort rarely changes long-term perception. People trust patterns, not promises. Why some men regain respect and others don't. Imagine two different men after making the same mistake. The first man panics. He constantly apologizes. He keeps asking, "Are we okay? Do you still love me? Tell me what I need to do." His entire focus becomes winning her back. The second man also reflects on his mistakes. He takes responsibility. He apologizes where necessary. But then, he goes to work. He improves himself. He becomes more disciplined, more emotionally stable, more consistent. He doesn't improve because he's trying to impress her. He improves because he refuses to stay the same. Months later, even if the relationship doesn't survive, he's become a stronger man. That's the difference. One man chased approval. The other chased growth. And growth is what earns genuine respect. Respect is built in ordinary moments. Many people think respect is earned through grand gestures. One expensive gift, one romantic vacation, one dramatic speech. But that's rarely how it works. Respect grows in ordinary moments. When you keep your word, when you arrive on time, when you stay calm during disagreements, when you admit you're wrong without making excuses, when you stand by your values even under pressure, when you treat people with kindness, without becoming a people pleaser. These moments seem small, but together, they shape how people experience you. Character isn't revealed during extraordinary moments. It's revealed by ordinary habits repeated over time. What women actually respect. Many men spend years trying to become more attractive. They focus on clothes, money, cars, status. None of those things are meaningless, but they're not the foundation of lasting respect. Women tend to admire men who are emotionally grounded, men who remain calm under pressure, men who have purpose beyond the relationship, men who can say no without guilt, men who communicate honestly instead of manipulating, men who take responsibility instead of blaming everyone else, men who continue growing, even when life becomes difficult. These qualities don't create instant attraction overnight, but they often create something much more valuable. Long-term admiration, a question every man should ask himself. Instead of asking, "How do I make her respect me?" ask something different. Am I living in a way that deserves respect? That's a much harder question, but it's also a much more useful one, because the answer has very little to do with another person. It has everything to do with the standards you set for yourself, how you handle pressure, how you respond to disappointment, how you treat people when you're upset, how consistently you live according to your values. Respect begins there. Final message. If there's one thing to remember from this video, it's this. Women rarely lose respect because of one dramatic mistake. More often, respect fades through small compromises repeated over time. When a man abandons his purpose, when he constantly seeks approval, when he ignores his own boundaries, when his words stop matching his actions, when he allows fear to replace confidence. The good news. The opposite is also true. Respect is built the same way. One honest conversation, one kept promise, one healthy boundary, one disciplined decision, one calm response, one day of choosing growth over comfort, and then another, and another. Eventually, those small choices become your character, and your character becomes the reason people trust you, admire you, and respect you. Because in the end, attraction may open the door, But respect is what keeps it open. And the men who understand that don't spend their lives trying to appear valuable. They become valuable. Quietly. Consistently. One decision at a time. Click the subscribe button, like, share, and follow for more.